Hey, Bill, what a pleasure to have you with us once again. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you for making time for us. Um, I know that a lot of people tuning in today know about you, but I'll start with a part of your career which has always been very intriguing to me. So you come to Georgia Tech, go to Harvard Business School. By the way, I understand that you did quite well at HBS. I had a wonderful business career. Go to Medtronic in the late 80s. Quickly become CEO, chairman. You have a wonderful career. And when you retired from that job, which I'm sure you did well financially, and you had a great career. You had access to some amazing boards. You have this crazy idea of going to Europe, to Switzerland, and start a whole new career, and become a leadership expert, a developer of leaders. Instead of, you could have spent a lot of time in Colorado or traveling around the world and doing a whole bunch of things. What made you want to start that new career from scratch?
Well, I was only 58 at the time, and by the time I retired, it was 60th birthday, but I was 58 when I gave up CEO job. And I had told the board before I became CEO, after I was elected, before I was CEO, and I said, look, I don't have a contract. You can fire me anytime, but let's say the maximum time a CEO should serve in a high-tech company is 10 years. And I intend to hold to that. And, and we'll talk about the vision of what we can get done in that 10 years. And then you need to have someone else. And I said, the promise I'll make to you is I'm not leaving until you have somebody that unanimously the board is enthusiastic about, not just accepts as my successor, who's fully qualified to take over and take the company to the next level. I'd seen too many CEOs hang on too long, and then they get to this cliff and they're almost afraid they're going to go down that cliff. And what am I going to do? And so I walked out of there. In fact, we were in a board meeting in Switzerland, and Penny and I hopped on a train and went down to France and rented a place for a month. We'd never done that. We never had a vacation. I think we had one vacation, it was 2 weeks. All the rest were one. But we rented a place, and it really got me thinking about, I had no idea what I was going to do. It was like going into Never Land and without a guidepost. But I thought about going into government. I thought about a lot of things. I decided that what really makes a difference in the world are great leaders. And I felt like in the 90s, we're going the wrong way on leadership. It was all about charisma, ego, style, take it till you make it. A lot of these flawed theories, exerting power over the people. And I said, this is all wrong.
Let me then talk about your book, which encapsulates your views on leadership. And I admit, I've been influenced by your ideas. I've benefited from your teaching. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But it's quite unusual. I mean, I have taught organizational behavior and your approach is quite unusual. In fact, when people sign up to take a leadership class, they probably think they're going to get the tricks for world domination and how you get power, how do you become the boss, how do you rule an organization, how do you and then all of a sudden you write this as like wait, that's not what leadership is about. Yeah. It's a very different thing. It's not about I, it's about we, it's about finding your true north. How did you reach that conclusion? And very importantly, what was the reaction when you started sort of sharing these ideas with your students?
Well, I started out by teaching a course on writing a book on authentic leadership. And then these ideas morphed into, I remember our dean said, Bill, you wrote a book about your own experiences. Now you got to write one from other people's perspectives. We interviewed some 125 great leaders, and then later another group of 50. And to find out what their leadership is all about. And they didn't want to talk about the traits and characteristics of successful leaders that the Harvard faculty wanted me to talk about. They wanted to talk about who they were. And we realized what really makes them between good leaders and great leaders is they know who they are, and they lead from a sense of who they are, which we call your true north. They have a deep sense of that. And there's a moral compass. Jim Burke, the CEO of J&J, who recalled Tylenol, said, if you don't have moral compass, you'll swim in chaos. And a lot of people today during COVID and all were swimming in chaos because they didn't have a grounded place. You have to go to that. You look at the values of Georgia Tech and your new strategic plan. That's a grounding of knowing who you are. And so that to me is just formative. I just taught a course all morning for 4 or 5 hours for PepsiCo, great global company. And that's all we tell us, who you are. Look, you can learn how to lead teams later, but the hardest person you'll ever have to lead is yourself. So you got to figure that out first. I had to figure that out while I was at Georgia Tech. And it was kind of painful, losing elections, things not going my way, and realizing I was on the wrong course. And so that kind of got me on the right track. And so that I just believe these ideas, and it is a deep sense of that. And so that's what I wanted to write about. And frankly, that's what the leaders we interviewed told us was important to them.
Why is it so important to have that understanding of your own personal story and where you're from? Why is that so important to being a good leader? Wouldn't you? Some people say, I might as well forget, the past. I just want to move forward.
Yeah, that's a good way to get in trouble, is to kind of try to wipe that out. These are things that shape you, and I think it's essential. And we found over 80% of the leaders we interviewed had a very significant traumatic event in their life, called a crucible. Maybe their parents got divorced. Maybe they committed plagiarism and got thrown out of Harvard College. Maybe they went through a divorce. Maybe they got fired from a job. Maybe they had severe health problems, like my friend Dan Bassell, CEO of Novartis. But that shaped their thinking. But it was in that crucible when everything is stripped away. There, you have no title, no pretense, and you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, who am I and who do I want to be?
Recently, you were commending us on the makeup of our leadership team at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And in fact, you noted how diverse the team is. Of 6 colleges, we have 3 men, 3 women, 3 African American, 2 foreign born. I mean, we're really a pretty incredibly diverse team. But why is that something to be celebrated? Because I guess you could argue that if you have a leadership team that is a lot more homogeneous, there are some advantages, right? In terms of communication is easier. Maybe getting people aligned on a set of objectives is probably a lot easier than a group like ours. Why did you commend me on that? Why do you think that's good for an organization?
You make much better decisions when you have a diverse leadership team. We're in a global world that can reflect what's going on in the world. These people that have had life experiences that they can share. I doubt there is another university in the world that has as diverse a leadership team as you have. And I've talked to a couple of your new appointees, Charles Isdell over at the computer science area, Rahim Bayar at engineering. Amazing when you hear their life experiences, and they just were willing to share. I think you make much better decisions. If you have an organization where everyone thinks alike, acts alike, talks alike, I can tell you, you'll make bad decisions for today's world. So you need to know the life experiences of other people when you see that. So I put forth the postulate as part of my work at Harvard back in 2013 that the leadership of an organization needs to reflect the diversity of the people you serve.
When you advise leaders, how do you help them take that longer view and know that being in the crucible can be a source of personal growth?
Well, I think that's a great question. There's no one on this call, certainly you and I have both been through crucibles, that's not going to go through a tough time in their life. And so it's naive to think just because we've been successful, we haven't. I went through mine at Georgia Tech because my father wanted me to be a leader to make up for his failures. I'm an only child. And I came there and I ran for office in high school and got beaten 2-1. I came to Georgia Tech, lost 6 elections. I was pretty depressed. Best thing that ever happened to me, some seniors pulled me aside and said, Bill, no one's ever going to want to work with you, much less be led by you, because you're moving so fast, you don't take time for other people. And that was like a blow to the solar plexus, because I could see that was the end of my aspirations. And, I reflected on that for a whole year and then came back, was able to take a lot of leadership roles at Georgia Tech, but only because I developed some self-awareness. Most important thing is I went back and talked to people, and I had a lot of friends that were willing to support me through that difficult time. I think we all need that. And I had another experience where I was living in Washington, and I was engaged to be married to a wonderful woman from Macon, Georgia. And she'd been having some headaches, but we didn't think too much of it. The wedding was going to be in Macon. So she went back home to prepare for the wedding. I talked to her on a Saturday night. I remember it was August, a long time ago, and 1968. And we were making plans. The next morning, 6 o'clock, the phone rang, and those headaches were caused by a malignant brain tumor, a glioblastoma. And she had died that morning in her father's arms. And I can tell you, I was devastated because I could explain the death of my mother, who had died a couple years earlier, as the natural order of things. But when somebody who's 25 just disappears, I had no basis for that. I came back to her funeral, and a whole group of people I'd known well at Georgia Tech, fraternity brothers and other people, came to her funeral. And I remember saying to one of them, "Why did you come? You never met her." That we just wanted to be there for you. And I remember sitting around outside after the funeral, and I just felt like I had people to support me. So we need to have a support group around us who will be there for us. Now it's my wife, Penny, and a group of people in my men's group and close colleagues and associates. But then I felt all alone, and it was because people cared about me and came back. And that was, I'll never forget that experience. And I'm very grateful to those people who did that. And they were all tech graduates, but that meant so much to me to have them there, and we could just felt that support. No one's going to change the situation. No one can overcome that pain, but you have to live with that. And I was blessed to meet my wife Penny a year later, and we got married and been together 51 years. So sometimes in life, I don't want to sound too philosophical, but a door will close in your life, and another door was open. And I was blessed to have that happen. But in these crucibles, you got to deal with it. If you just shut down, I see people cut themselves. I'm never going to think about that. And they carry that the rest of their lives. So that is where they get into PTSD and they have nightmares and dreams. You mentioned post-traumatic growth. How do we grow from this? How do we find our calling? And I realized mine was helping other people grow and develop. My purpose became, how do we help develop leaders who make a difference? And how can I use my gifts to do that?
Bill, I'll let you close. If you have a closing thought for the many students at Georgia Tech and universities like Georgia Tech, who are now working hard to grow, who hopefully will be those leaders that you described, that can make a difference, that can advance science and technology and really make a contribution to the problems that we face and that we will face. What is the message that you want to send them?
You need to have that moral compass. So as you're doing things, think about not how you can make money, but how you can make a difference, and how really, who are you helping? Who are you serving? Because leadership at the end of the day is about service. Dr. Cabrera is serving all of you as students, alumni, faculty at Georgia Tech, administrators. And so if you think of it that way, they're not there to serve him. All the students are not going to school to serve him. He's there to serve them. And if you think about leadership as service, you can make an enormous difference in the world and help others develop as leaders, because we need more leaders. We need people like you that are passionate about making a difference in the world and can take their genius. Hey, you wouldn't have gotten to Georgia Tech if you didn't have real brilliance. And if you can take that and then apply it for good ends, that's what it's all about. So please think about how you can use your God-given gifts to good ends to make this world a better place.